Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We have the pleasure to joining us in this interview, Logan Holler. Thanks for allowing me, to have you in this interview. How are you?
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm doing good. Just the normal grind, just training and getting ready. How are you?
I'm doing well. No, thanks for, like I say, allowing me to speak with you. I always appreciate every person, every fighter, whether it's a female, male, when they give me some time for, talking about, their careers and everything. I know fight fans, boxing fans, they love it. How, you guys have the stories to tell. Sometimes, sometimes it's very short time when the fighter comes, do an interview, appears in the ring, but we love to hear from the fighters. Eventually you fight on 154 division. How is it for you to fight in that type of division?
Well, I work with Perfecting Athletes for my nutritionist, and they've made the weight cut super easy. And they have it down to a science, and they're so experienced. So 154 we really like. I end up being a little bit bigger and stronger when I get into the ring than most of the 154 girls. So I've fought at higher weights, but we like the 154.
That weight class, you feel more comfortable, more powerful. I would say speed and everything applies great for you. That's awesome to hear. From you. First thing first, what makes you to enter in the boxing field, to become an athlete and pick up, this sport. I always mention, with all due respect to every person, every female fighter out there, I said, you ladies could have choose, like be modeling, be a model for clothes, shoes, and anything, but boxing, I'd be like, it's always respectful, the decision. What makes you to become, a professional boxer? Tell us your story.
So, I've always been an athlete my whole life, and when I graduated college, I was a D1 athlete in college. My dad and one of his friends that he played football with got me into it, and I always wanted to do boxing for fitness purposes. For my mental health, I'm very open about that. I've dealt with depression for a very long time, and so boxing was something when I got into it that really helped me have an outlet. And then since being an athlete, I was like, ooh, I want to compete. I want to try. I have that competitive nature. So I tried one fight and then just, fell in love. And I think 8+ years later, still trying, still doing it.
No, it's great. And always, like I said, take off. I always, like I mentioned to every female fighter and also the fighters, take off my hat from my head. Because it takes a lot of guts to be in the sports. Even if you lose a fight, I tell everyone, I don't bite my tongue to tell everyone out of the camera, inside the camera. I said, even forget a knockout, to be knocked out by somebody, you have to have guts. Because eventually it's not easy. I mean, I have a lot of respect. I seen fighters after they been knocked out and everything. I come over them, very respectful, asking how they're doing, because at the end of the day, they're human beings just like us, and I can't really, like be happy for something like that seen, and God forbid, I mean, anything wrong goes, but like I said, to me it's always respectful to come, very right to the fighters, and I think for you all ladies. You ladies deserve, a lot of respect. Some of you, with all due respect, again, female fighters marry, kids, single mom sometimes, hard work, and also going to the gym and everything. And you give us amazing shows. I never seen any amateur fights from females or boxing professional fights that I would call it is boring. Always to you, like every female fighter brings excitement. I don't know, you ladies, what you have a special, something that makes the audience to stand up and cheering, screaming, and everything. We don't want to sit. We don't want to take a seat. That's one thing. So it's amazing. What do you think about women's boxing? Eventually, the movement right now. We have Serrano, Taylor, epic. Historical
amazing
now.
Fight.
What do you think about women's boxing that is going right now?
So even when I first started boxing, it it wasn't that big. Like, it's just been a recent growth, which is really, really good. And promoters are starting. I think that's, was part of the problem is promoters have to be supportive. I still sometimes will hear some promoters or some, ESPN analysts and stuff like that say women don't belong in combat sports, and it's just a very dated opinion. And, I think, like you said, we're very exciting fighters. One, because, for us, we have 2 minutes as pros, so we have to take every second we can. But two, it's like we have a chip on our shoulder. We want to prove that we belong, and we do belong. And you can see that with Katie and Amanda. And, as much as we have opponents and, people talk and have their rivals and stuff, we do at the end of the day have to come together as women to make our sport grow. Because we're still fighting against people that don't, support us. And it'll be a while. But I definitely think that we're making strides, especially, coming up Clarissa and Savana. Mikela and Alycia, that's going to be 2 great, amazing fights I can't wait to watch. So it's going in the right direction. We just have to still keep fighting.
So true. I mean, eventually you mentioned all these athletes that are eventually going to face each other. I can tell that women's boxing, I mean, I've been telling everyone, don't get me wrong, but I always tell everyone, it's only one voice against like so many voices. I like to support women's boxing because I seen how hard you ladies train. I've been in Amanda Serrano's training camp. I know how hard she trains and put it a great show every time that she fights, and I know all of you does that. So sometimes I find kind of unfair that the purse is not right, or the credit that you ladies supposed to be or be given is not the correct way. I mean, I spoke with other female fighters, and sometimes they said it to me. We are ready to show the world that we can give you a main card event. We could be the main card event. I mean, eventually Taylor, Serrano, they have proved already that they could be a main card. What do you think it's missing in this part? That eventually we don't see women's boxing as a main card. I mean, I congratulate Eddie Hearn and other promoters to make this fight happen. Yeah. But sometimes I feel like something is missing over here.
Yeah, well, I was going to say Eddie Hearn is definitely someone who's putting women's boxing on the forefront. And DeBella, he has a lot of women signed as well. I still think it's sometimes part of the promoters. I still know some promoters that don't support it, and they don't have any women signed to their promotions, or they don't give them a chance. And I think that's the problem, is we just don't have the same opportunities, and we just have to keep fighting for them, and having these cards like Amanda and the Clarissa card coming up, and just showing people that we deserve to be there. And but a lot of it comes from promotion. A lot of combat sports it's kind of become WWE. It's entertainment. It's the build up. It's building 2 people and their character and who they're playing, whether they're the villain, they're the heel, or the baby face. It's marketing. It's sports entertainment, and I just think women don't get that push, that they deserve. When there's so many stars out there that we don't even know about because they don't get the opportunity. And, it's hard because, like you said, we have kids, and where a lot of us work full time too, because boxing doesn't pay our bills. So it's hard, and it gets frustrating. And I remember, I think it was Amanda who said, like, she used to think every day, like, she was frustrated and she wanted to quit boxing every day because it was just so frustrating. And I feel what she's saying, because it just, it's even like my division, there's not a lot of females in my division. So it's hard for me to get an opponent. It's hard for me to get, the push. And it's frustrating. I've had many training camps where a fight falls out, or, we can't find an opponent. So it's frustrating, all that training you do 8+ weeks, and, nothing comes of it. But at the end of the day, you got to remember your love for the sport. And that's what, because for me, boxing saved my life. So that's what I always try to remember, and just keep fighting, just keep pushing. So long answer.
No, I mean, it's no, I mean, hey, it's a great answer. It's a great that you mentioned to me all these details, because like I said, sometimes it's very short time when we see a fighter, we say hello and everything, but doesn't explain, other things behind the scenes. And I'm glad that you brought it up and tell us, how you feel. And it's true, I remember when I interviewed Amanda Serrano, she said that she was going for MMA because boxing couldn't get, what she wanted. But eventually, later on, I think Eddie Hearn appeared. How much, Eddie Hearn showed her or told her that she could win, making fights with her. I don't know, that's behind the scenes, but I'm glad that Amanda, stood in boxing. I mean, don't get me wrong, she's an athlete that eventually at any time she could switch to going for MMA. But I think boxing fans love more when she's doing the boxing, because I think we know the Amanda Serrano always as a boxer, so it's kind of, to me personal, it's kind of weird to see Amanda going for MMA. I'd be like, I said it's a different world. If I'm not
completely understand, like a lot of women, I mean, even Clarissa and they and Heather Hardy, they tried their hand at MMA. So I get it. There's more. In some places they get paid more in MMA. So I completely understand, why they do it. So, but I agree. I like, I like seeing them get the platform they deserve in boxing.
so great. I mean, hopefully things work well for yourself, for every female athlete that it's out there, because like I said, you ladies deserve to be recognized, but not only recognized. So the payday, like I always call the purse, be right for all of you, because eventually work hard and going to the gym and doing so many things. I always call every female fighter, you ladies are the Wonder Woman, doing one thing, going there, and the energy. And if I was me, I would say, I'm done. I'm done. I mean,
have days like that. Don't worry. There's definitely days, but you just gotta keep fighting.
No, it's true. I mean, eventually, we're gonna hope that, like I said, that all of you get better things in the future. Hopefully, that happens soon. Eventually, right now, when I'm saying soon, there's a name right now that it's gonna face for the third time, Triple G. That's the name, Canelo Alvarez. Eventually, he got a loss again in his career against Dimitri Bivol. What do you think about his career? Eventually people sometimes criticize Canelo. Oh, he got a loss and everything like that. But what do you think about his career, his movement?
It's like everybody says, it's the Mayweather effect. Like they think you have to be undefeated, and it's like it doesn't matter. Canelo is a superstar. Whether he has 3, 4, 5 losses, he's an amazing fighter, and he takes chances, which a lot of fighters don't do anymore because they try to protect their record. One of my teammates, George Kambosos, just fought Devin Haney, and he suffered his first loss. But I love what he said. He's like, I'm not about protecting records. I'm about fighting the best fighters. So, I think boxing is lacking a little bit in the fights that we want to see because, fighters want to protect the record, which again, it's just something we have to kind of get over, because there's tons of combat athletes who have a loss and are still legends, Hall of Famers. But I'm excited for the Triple G Canelo fight. I'm probably more a Triple G fan. My fiance's more a Canelo fan, so it'll be fun to watch with him. But I'm glad they have the trilogy. I think it'll be a nice bookend to their fights.
I think it's gonna be amazing. I mean, eventually this fight will define who will be the winner. Hopefully, judges don't mess it up, on the scorecards or I don't know, I mean, I can't really say anything, before the fight happens. Eventually, I know that it's gonna be a great fight. For what I see is on Triple G, I'm pretty sure he will bring everything against Canelo, because how many fights does he have left? I don't know, but I think, time and age, plays a big role over here, because he's not younger anymore. He's not the Triple G we used to see before. I mean, I think to me, with all due respect to Triple G, he's a little bit slow down, the way we used to see Triple G active and stronger and everything, I kind of find a little hard to see if Triple G will bring more explosive. I mean, because both of them, they know each other already.
Yeah.
And I think if they're gonna, a lot of people think it's gonna be like explosive and everything. I find that it's gonna be very technical fight because they know whoever makes the first mistake, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But I find it's a very interesting fight. Talking about interesting fights and what you mentioned right now is very interesting. Sometimes the fighters or promotions or managers, they protecting the record. Unfortunately, right now it comes in my mind in a heavyweight division, Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua. We were waiting long time for that fight happens, and look at that.
Yeah.
With all due
And
respect to both of them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's Joshua versus Usyk next, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Is,
I mean, I would like to see Wilder come back. I mean, I'm a Tyson Fury fan. Just for again, I tend to be more of a fan of people for their outside accomplishments and their outside personality more than their skill in the ring. So I really really like Tyson Fury and how he kind of he told his story about his mental health, and that resonated with me because that's something
sure.
I've dealt with. So I've always been kind of a Fury fan, but it's exciting. I like when there's a lot of people in the heavyweight division that are could be champs.
It's true. I mean, and great thing that you mentioned. You remind about the issue or anything that personally. Sometimes you feel like you had affected by anything that happens in your life. It's great that fight fans, boxing fans. I mean, eventually Tyson Fury it's an amazing. I never thought he could weight that type of weight that he used to have, and eventually he started working out and everything. And like he said, you need to have. You have to be very disciplined if you want to get or your goals or achieve anything in your life. And the way he did it, it's an amazing. I mean, congratulations for him. Congratulations for you. I mean, if I would be right next to you, I could give you a hug and say, listen, you are amazing to tell everyone, your example, and you are an inspiration because for many people, out there. Because sometimes when you fight as a fighter, don't speak about your stories, anything that you went through. Sometimes, like I said, it's interesting for boxing fans to know a little bit more, and I'm very thankful when a fighter opens, their lives and everything and tells about how they create, the personality as a professional boxer. And what can I say, many things, I always said the fighter has to tell us, and I'm very thankful when you open your heart, you open yourself to the public, because not too many people does that.
Yeah, well, no, I appreciate you giving me the platform to do that, but it took me a while to be open with it, but now it's always part of my story. Just because if there's anybody I can help that ever watches my interviews or anything, like I just want them to know they're not alone, So I try to share my stories and things that I've go through, the dark places, the good places, as much as I can.
It's true. Now you mentioning your story and everything. Do you go to the schools or anything like that when you have to speak to, let's say, the kids and or you find sometimes a random person and sometimes it makes a relationship with you and then you tell it?
Yeah, well, I'm very open on my social media about it. And I've had a lot of people reach out to me anytime I post and talk about it. That just say, I go through the same thing, and I feel so alone. And that's why, like I said, I try to speak about it as much as I can. If I meet a street and we're talking, I will open my heart and I will open my story, because I'm comfortable with it. It's my journey. It's my process that I've gone through, and it's something I deal with every day. Depression is not something that goes away. I'm going to always deal with it. It's just, I'm, having confidence and having boxing and knowing my Lord and Savior is there with me, and
Amen.
I have a great support system, my family, my fiance, that understand it. And even I have a lot of my sparring partners, my boxing friends, and my family at Sweatbox here in Florida. They're all very, very supportive, and they know, some of the days and the tribulations that I go through. But again, I try to speak on it as much as I can. Just if there's anybody out there that I can help, because I know how lonely it can be.
I'm glad that you have the strength, the fortress, peace, and everything. As you mentioned, that eventually comes from God and everything that allows you to speak to other people and be a gateway in order that someone can hear your story and be, wow, if she did it, I can make it happen. So I'm very happy to hear your story and everything. And if I can come in soon in your career or anything that you could tell us, no.
Nothing coming up right now. We're trying to find a fight. Again, 154 is a hard division. But honestly, at any of the title holders that hold a belt at 154, I think there's three. I think there's three holders right now. I'm not sure if each one has one or one of them has two, but I'd fight any of the title holders right now. I'd love to have that chance and that platform to step up. I'm coming off my first loss, and honestly, it was the best learning lesson for me, because I don't have any amateur fights. I went straight to pro. I wasn't able to get any amateur fights, so I'm kind of learning on the job. But I'm ready to step up. So hopefully, a title fight is next. That's what I would like. My manager, my promoter, they're working on it. So hopefully something soon.
Hopefully something happens, good in your career. And don't get me wrong, nothing happens if I see a one loss in your career, two losses in your career. It's a learning lesson. Like you mentioned before, we seen, great boxers who has many losses, and we're still talking about it. Manny Pacquiao, Marquez. We can name it, a lot of fighters. Sugar.
Oh, so
many. But the good thing is that they didn't hold the undefeated record. They gave us the great fights, and that's eventually what is the sport, to give us the great fights. And a message that you would like to send before we wrap it up this interview, a message that you would like to send the fight fans, audience, family, friends that you would like to give us, please.
Yeah, no, I just want to thank any fans and all my fans just for the support, and just continue to support, one, your local fighters, and two, the women fighters out there. Go to the fights, buy the tickets, watch the pay-per-views, support them as much as you can, and just thankful for everybody who has, and thankful for the promoters and the people who have given us the opportunities. And I just hope that, they continue to give us the chance that we deserve.
Of course, and when it comes to me, I'll be there, supporting every female fighter out there. And hopefully
I'll see you at the next fight.
Oh, yeah, definitely, I mean, like I always said, they talk about boxing, and sometimes it's big, and I always tell everyone, it's really small. When you get to me, a lot of people, sometimes they be talking, oh, I know him, I know her, and everything. So it's amazing how the sport works. It's like I always said, it's a family thing that, eventually you get to meet a different type of culture, people, amazing people, and it's amazing together, always together. So, God willing, we will see each other, one day.
Yeah.
So, Logan Holler with us. Thanks for joining me on this interview. I appreciate for your time. God bless you, and wishing nothing but the best for you.
Thank you so much. You have a great night, and hope I'll see you soon.
Thank you.